What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's hang out and talk about my top 5 discs every player should have in their disc golf bag. So we all know there's a ton of discs that you can choose from when kind of building a disc golf bag. What kind of molds do you really need to play a full round of disc golf and to have a pretty well-rounded disc golf bag? So today we're gonna go through my top 5 discs that I think everyone should have. I'm not gonna keep this brand exclusive either. So I'm gonna be talking about the slot in your bag, and then I'll tell you what kind of discs I throw for that slot, and talk about more like flight characteristics, things like that. So number 5 on my list would be an overstable putter. For that slot, I use a Houdini, but you might also like a zone. Jess loves to throw a tempo. Some people throw slammers. Anything that you can throw for your arm speed that's kind of slightly overstable and you get a little bit of that right to left dump out of the disc. This is a great choice for like hyzer shots where you have to throw up and around things, but you don't want to go too far. So like maybe around the 200-foot mark. They're really great for flex shots through the woods where you have to throw it out on an anhyzer and then let it kind of fade back to flat. It's a very versatile disc to have in your bag. You can even use them in headwind situations for straighter shots and even like headwind putts. The numbers on a Houdini are 3303, so fairly overstable. I think a zone is somewhere around those same numbers, maybe a little more, a little less. They both fly very similar. The main point I'm trying to get across with this video is to find a putter that's overstable for your arm speed. What's overstable for me is not going to be overstable for you. It's a lot of trial and error, and then once you find that slot, I put about 1 or 2 of these in my bag so that I can rotate them around and have different levels of wear and tear on the disc. So I'll have an overstable version and a understable version of the same disc. So number 4 on that list would be a neutral putter. These are going to be great for nose up float shots, very workable anhyzer shots, and even like some hyzer flip shots at the 150 to 200 foot range. I use a Chief personally, and I like this diamond hemp blend, but you might also enjoy throwing a Luna. Jess likes to throw Pilots. AVRs, even Wizards are kind of in that category. The Chief, for me, I like the profile on it. It's kind of a very thin rimmed disc. And the numbers on a Chief are 3301. So the last number is your low speed fade. So with those numbers, it actually has almost no fade at the end. I like to use my Chief for long straight to turnover shots, or even high kind of spike anhyzer shots. And I'll even throw these for rollers, forehand and backhand, if I've got to get around something kind of quick and I don't want to get a whole lot of distance. Anytime you're throwing a putter, you're throwing it so that you don't go past the basket or you don't go too far. It's also really great to throw putters and mids when you have to throw a slower shot. So in the woods, if I've got to make a gap or I have to be really accurate with my upshot, I will throw a putter instead of any other disc in my bag. And number 3 on my list is going to be an overstable fairway driver. So for that, I'm using a blade. The numbers on a blade are a 9, 5, 0, and 3. You might also like a Firebird, Thunderbird, Raptor. I'm trying to think of an overstable one from West Side and Dynamic. Felon, I think. Any of those fairway drivers that you know aren't going to be flipping up and flipping over. So I will use this primarily for low ceiling shots and headwind shots. So anytime it starts getting windy, I will bust out a blade to replace my Assassin shots. If it's got a strong headwind, I can throw it pretty well flat into the headwind and it'll fight it and go pretty well straight. They're also great for straight to skip shots. You can also use them for high flex turnover shots. Throw the disc high in the air on a dedicated anhyzer line. You're letting the disc fight and pan out of the shot and land flat. That is a great tool for throwing a low ceiling that's later in the fairway. So you can throw like the high anhyzer shot and it'll pan and be low to the ground by the time it gets to the basket. So I like to have an overstable and neutral version of everything that's in my bag. So in slot number 2 is going to be a neutral fairway driver. Now I really like the Assassin from Gateway, but you might also like an Undertaker. T-Bird is a little more overstable side, so like the pros probably throw a T-Bird for a neutral fairway driver. A TL3, very similar to an Assassin. A Crave from MVP. Jess likes to throw an Underworld, so a max weight Underworld. Would be a little flippier version of an Assassin. The numbers on an Assassin are a 9, 6, -1.5, and 1. So it's fairly just a straight flying fairway driver. This disc is gonna be a great all-around driver. So I can throw this up to 350, somewhere around there on a great day. I use it for low line shots that I have to get the disc moving out and then maybe a little bit of fade back at the end. So I'll use it for shots where I have to get underneath some trees or I have a low ceiling at the pin. You always want a neutral fairway driver in your bag because it'll match whatever angle you put the disc on. So if I want to throw a big long hyzer shot, I can do that with an Assassin. If I want to throw a long roller, I can do that with a neutral fairway driver because it matches whatever angle I put the disc on. The only thing that you have to worry about is speed control and a headwind. So if you have a strong headwind, a neutral disc is gonna bail out on you. It's not gonna be very reliable. And the number 1 disc that I recommend for every player to have in their bag is a neutral mid-range. For me, that's the Element. The numbers on an Element are 5, 5, -1, and 1. I can play pretty much an entire round of disc golf with just this disc. If I want to throw hyzer flips, I can throw them with this. If I want to throw just slow, flat shots, I can throw them with this disc. I use this in the woods 90% of the time. You might also like a Buzz SS, Tursus, Hex, Truth, a Rock from Innova. All of those molds are very similar to an Element. So just find the one that's right for your arm speed. For me, having a versatile mid-range in the bag is a must. You can throw pretty much any line you want with an Element or any kind of neutral mid-range. Most of the time, I'm throwing a neutral mid-range for shots that have to go straight and have no fade. An Element, that Chief, any of those kind of neutral mid-ranges and putters are gonna land flat and push forward more than a fairway driver. A fairway driver is always gonna have a little bit of fight back at the end, unless it's like crazy understable, something like that. So that's my top 5 discs that I think every player should have in their bag. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And here's another video that YouTube thinks you might like from me. Have a great day. Stay in the fairway, guys. Just get out there and have fun, guys. Try out a few different molds, see what you really like.